Hi everybody! So today I get the pleasure of showing you how to create this adorable little elephant. This is designed by Jess Davies, also known as CraftLover17 on Instagram. Now this is not a hard design, it is very repetitive. What we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you all the supplies that you need. Your band count, eyes, I'm using 12mm safety eyes. You could use a 9mm pony bead or something bigger, or the little googly eyes, which probably an 18mm or again bigger. I recommend having 11 stitch markers. Like I really recommend having 11 stitch markers, whether you have these stitch markers or even C-clips. You're gonna need your stuffing. You're gonna need a pair of scissors, your hook, a pencil. You're gonna need gauge wire, 18 gauge wire. If you don't have the gauge wire, don't worry, you can do without. It's just to keep the trunk and bend the shape. Again, if you don't have the wire, you could even use pipe cleaners. What else we're gonna do? We're gonna do the arms, the legs, the trunk, the ears, and we're gonna make 2 of these pieces. So I'm gonna show you how to do one, and then you're gonna make yourself another. One is gonna be the start of the head, and one is the start of the body. If you don't have, if you have wire cutters, you could use the wire cutters. I will be using scissors to cut. You're also going to need 3 bands that I am going to use these as guiding bands. One is going to be a cap band, one is going to be the guiding bands for the eyes. And these 3 bands I'm going to be cutting with the scissors. So I am going to get started, and I do hope you enjoy. Round 1 of the arms, I'm going to show you to do one, and then you're going to pause the video to make yourself another. I'm going to start off with a magic ring of 5. So I'm going to take my first band, which is the cap band, and wrap it around the bottom part of my loom 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now you're going to pull 5 bands through, one at a time. Reach in, bring your first band through, end on your hook, and bring the top loop over. Bring it to the side, go back in for your second band, bring through, end on your hook, and now you're just bringing the top 2 loops over. Back in, third band through, end on your hook, and top 2 loops over. And you're going to continue like that. Remove off the loom. You want to make sure you move the bands around so that they're nice and even. You should have 5 stitches, counting the band on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You want to attach that stitch marker always to the band that's around your hook. And this is what you should have. For round 2, we're going to increase to 9 stitches. So I'm going to do an increase in the first 4 chains, adding 2 bands to each chain. So 2, 2, 2, and 2. The last band where your stitch marker is, you're just going to do a single crochet, adding 1 band. So I'm going to go in my first chain, following my layout, 2 bands in this first chain. So it's an increase, go back in that same chain to add the second band. I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. So I'm at the stitch marker, so it's just a single crochet. So you should have 9 stitches now. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, we're going to do 9 single crochets and we're going to grab the inside loops only to each chain around the loop that's facing the center of your project. You're going to do that 9 times, so at the end of this round you're going to have 9 stitches. So going to the first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and just grabbing the inside loops only. Bring your band through and slide. The next inside loop only. Continue until you get to the stitch marker. Inside loop only. So you should have 9 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, you're going to do 9 single crochets. 1 band in each chain. 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. I'm going to do round 4 with you, and then you're going to pause the video, continue, and come back to me when you're done. The last band, you're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. Then after, we're going to be adding some stuffing using a pencil, and then add some sewing bands. So let's get started with round 4. Just untwist this. 1 band in each chain. Each one of my piles, I have 9 bands, so you should have 9 stitches when you're done. Make sure you're not going where it's getting pulled, going through the chain, and single crochet. Remove your stitch marker, or you can add another stitch marker to make sure that you have enough rounds. Or sometimes what I like to do is take a band, and this would be round 4. For round 5 now, you take another band and just wrap it around your finger. So you can count your rounds by doing that. It's up to you. My bands are organized, so I'll just be working like this. So pause the video, come back to me when you're done. So I'm at the last band, and I'm just going to add a slip knot in the last chain, and then we're going to add some stuffing. So I'll just redo that, going in the last chain and bringing your band through all the loops to tie it off. Remove your stitch marker. And now we're going to add some stuffing. You don't want a lot, you just want to get the form of it. So just the form, and then we're going to add 3 sewing bands. So just put a little bit in, and I find it easy to use a pencil just to add it inside. So you're getting it all the way to the bottom. I'm going to need just a bit more. And when you're done, you just want to make sure that they're about the same size in width so that they're even. So now we're going to add 3 sewing bands to the top. So you want to bring your slip knot to the side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the chains, not beside the slip knot. I'm going to skip those 2 chains and from one end to the other. So you can see I missed those 2. And I'm going to do a slip knot. So bringing it through. Go right beside from one side to the other. Do another one. and then the last two. This one you want to tie to the end, so it's even with this one. So what I mean is bringing it as close as you can to the edge, right at the side. So you want to pause the video and make sure that you have 2 arms. Now onto the legs. What we're going to do is start off with a magic ring of 6. I'm going to show you to do 1, and then you're going to pause the video to make yourself another. So with a magic ring of 6, I'm going to start off with my cap band and wrap it around the bottom peg 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now pull 6 bands through, 1 at a time. Reach in, first band, grab the end, and top loop over. Bring it to the side and go back in for your second band. Same thing, bring it through, end on your hook, but this time bring the top 2 loops over and bring it to the side. Back in for your third band, bring through, end on your hook, and top 2 loops over. And continue like that. Remove your piece from the loom, move your bands around, and attach your stitch marker to the band that's around your hook. For round 2, we're going to increase on each chain around. So you're going to do 6 increases. 2 bands to each chain, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. At the end of round 2, you're going to have 12 stitches. So just go in your first chain, and it's just an increase. 1 band at a time, single crochet, go back in that same chain to add the other band. And repeat, 2 bands in the next chain. Back in. You can see I have 4 chains left, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 sections left. Continue until you get to the stitch marker. You have 12 stitches now. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, we're going to do 12 single crochets, adding 1 band to each of the inside loops only. So to each inside loop, just do a single crochet all the way around. So go into the first one, not where it's getting pulled. I have 12 bands here, so you have 12 stitches when you're done. Grab the inside loop only and single crochet. The next inside loop only, single crochet. And continue until you get to the stitch marker. You have 12 stitches, remove your stitch marker, and always add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 4, we're going to decrease to 10 stitches. What I'm going to do is 4 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. So I'm adding an extra band. I really recommend using the invisible decrease method. Each decrease gives it a different effect. So I suggest that just following the designer's way to do it is probably the best way, because each decrease gives it a different effect. Now, with that being said, you want to finish off with 4 single crochets and an invisible decrease. The invisible decrease gives it a wider look. When you're stitching 2 stitches together, it doesn't matter really which 2 stitches or how you grab them. But for this one, we're giving it a wider look, and so we're going to be using the invisible decrease method. So you're going to use an extra band. So I'm going to do the first row slowly, 4 single crochets, followed by an invisible decrease. So 1 band in the first 4 chains, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So that's what I'm going to do first. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Just so you know, I tried to do this pattern with just stitching the stitches together, and it didn't turn out, so it resulted in me having to undo the entire project. So I hope that you'll do the same. So in the next 2 stitches, it's the invisible decrease, so I'm going to go through the next 2 stitches doing a slip stitch and leaving it on my hook. So I'm going to do a slip stitch, the next stitch with a slip stitch. When you get 3 loops, then you want to slide. Now you want to continue 4 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. The next 2 stitches, slip stitch, and leave it on your hook. When you get 3 loops, then you slide. So right now, if you were to count your stitches, you have 10 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, you're going to do 10 single crochets. So each pile I have 10 bands. So at the end of each round, you're going to have 10 stitches. Your last band, you're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. And then you want to take a little bit of stuffing and you want to add some stuffing to the leg. So I'm going to do round 5 with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. So round 5, 10 single crochets, 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Go in your first chain. So don't forget, last band on round 10, slip knot. So pause the video and come back to me when you're done. For the ears, this is what it's going to look like. I am going to show you how to do one, and then you're going to pause the video to make yourself another. I'm going to start off with a cap band of any color, because then I'm going to use my scissors on the next round to cut it. And you could use a stitch marker, wrap the first band around your hook twice, but I prefer this way. So I'll be using a cap band of any color and then using my scissors to cut on the next round. So I'm going to start off with a cap band and then a chain of 8. So my first one I'm going to wrap around my hook 3 times. And then create a chain using 8 bands. This last chain, what you're going to do is a slip stitch. So just slide one end through the other. And this is what you should have. Now for round 1, what we're going to do with this chain is 6 single crochets. And in your last chain where this cap band is, you're going to do 3 single crochets in that one chain. And then around the other side, 6 single crochets. When I get to the end here at the cap band and I finish my 3 single crochets, I'm going to use my scissors to cut. When you're done, you're going to have 17 stitches, and I'll show you those stitches when we're finished. So I'm going to start off with 6 single crochets. Now you want to make sure that you're going in between the chain. So hold your chain like this, and you're going to go reverse. If you're holding the chain where your cap band is like this, you're not going to be going through the chains. So get comfortable. You want to make sure with your first stitch, you're going through the chain so those loops are on your hook. If you go the other way through the 2, like in between your chain, when you cut this, it's all going to fall apart. So you want to make sure that your chain is nice and flat. So I'm going to go reverse in my first chain in a single crochet. Making sure that when you go in your chains, you've got both loops on your hook. So I'm at the last chain. Make sure that you're going in between the 2 loops, so you're grabbing both ends, so when you do cut it, it's not going to fall apart. And do 3 single crochets in that one chain. Back in. So now I'm going to cut the band, the cap band, and it should still be intact. Now I'm going to finish with 6 single crochets, so going to the next chain over, you might want to just move those bands around and continue. So you're going in between, in the center, grabbing the chain. Now you want to attach a stitch marker to the band that's around your hook. And you'll have 17 chains. What we're going to be using is this little slip knot as one of the chains right at the end. So that tiny little stitch, that's where we're going to be starting on the next round. For round 2, we're going to increase to 20 stitches. So we're going to do 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, followed by an increase, followed by a single crochet, followed by an increase. Then 5 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an increase, followed by 2 single crochets. and then you'll have 20 stitches when you're done. So again, we're starting in the little tiny slip knot right at the top. So give it a pull. You'll go through that little slip knot, and that's where you're going to start for your first single crochet. Now give it a tug. Don't skip that first chain. Single crochet. Now just do 4 more single crochets. Increase, single crochet, increase, back in, 5 single crochets, Now I have 3 stitches left, or 3 chains left, 1, 2, and 3, and 3 sections left. I'm going to do an increase in the next stitch, followed by 2 single crochets. You have 20 stitches now. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, we're going to increase to 24 stitches. We're going to do a single crochet followed by an increase. Then 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then increase, 2 single crochets, increase, 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, increase, single crochet. So you may want to just pause the video, copy the layout, and then you can continue. So I'm just going to follow the pattern, single crochet, increase, and then I'm going to do 6 single crochets for the first row. Don't go where it's getting pulled. Onto my second row, increase, 2 single crochets, increase. Now 6 single crochets, I have 2 chains left, 2 sections left. Increase, single crochet. Last chain. So you should have 28 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 4, we're going to increase to 28 stitches. I'm going to do 2 single crochets followed by an increase, then 7 single crochets, then increase, 3 single crochets, increase, 7 single crochets, increase, ending with a single crochet. So you have 28 stitches when you're done. You want to go in the first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and I'm going to do the first row. 2 single crochets followed by an increase. You may want to pause the video and just copy the layout. Increase. Back in. Now 7 single crochets, now increase, then 3 single crochets, and then an increase. Now 7 single crochets, two chains left, 2 sections left. Increase, ending with a single crochet. You have 28 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For rounds 5 and 6, you're going to do 28 single crochets, 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Each pile I have 28 bands, so at the end of each of these rounds, you should have 28 stitches. I'm going to start you off with round 5, and then you're going to pause the video, continue, and come back to me when you're done, both rounds. So don't go where it's getting pulled. Always start in your next chain over, and single crochet. So you want to continue all the way around until you get to the stitch marker. When you get to the stitch marker, remove it, add it to the band that's around your hook, then complete round 6 and come back to me when you're done. For round 7, we're going to decrease to 24 stitches. So we're going to do 4 decreases, and I'm going to use the invisible decrease method. Again, I'd recommend doing that. I'm going to take each row very slowly, because I think that the layout is a bit confusing. What I'm going to do is 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, adding an extra band. 7 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 7 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, and ending with a single crochet. So let's do the first row. 2 single crochets, invisible decrease. 1 band in the first 2 chains. Just so you may want to pause the video, copy the layout, get organized. It just sometimes it helps out. It helps me out too. So 2 single crochets. Now, invisible decrease, slip stitch in the next 2 chains and leave them on your hook. Three loops and slide. Now 7 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Invisible decrease, slip stitch, and leave them on your hook. Three loops and slide. Now the next row, 3 single crochets, then an invisible decrease. Always be careful you don't go where it's getting pulled. Slip stitches, three loops, slide. Now 7 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Slip stitch, leave it on your hook, next chain, slip stitch, 3 loops and slide. I'm at the stitch marker, so just add a single crochet. Remove your stitch marker and you should have 24 stitches. For round 8, we're going to decrease to 20 stitches. This is our last round, so our last band, you're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. The pattern is single crochet followed by an invisible decrease, so adding an extra band. 6 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 6 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. And where your stitch marker is, you'll add a single crochet in your last stitch. So again, let's take one row at a time here. We're going to do a single crochet followed by an invisible decrease. You may want to pause the video just to copy the layout. In the first chain, single crochet. Slip stitch in the next 2 chains. Three loops and slide. Now 6 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Slip stitch in the next 2 chains. And slide. Now 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Six single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Slip stitch. And slide. Last stitch is a slip knot, so bring your band through all of the loops, grab the end and tie off. Remove your stitch marker. You don't need it on there anymore. So you want to make sure that you have 2. Now we're going to create the trunk. And I'm going to start off with a magic ring of 4. So using the bottom part of my loom, I'm going to take the cap band and wrap it around the bottom peg 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now bring 4 bands through, 1 at a time. Remove off the loom. Move your bands around. And you should have 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4 is on your hook. Attach a stitch marker to this band that's around your hook. And this is what you should have. For round 2, what we're going to do is increase on each chain around. So you're going to do 4 increases, 2 bands in each chain, 2, 2, 2, and 2. So you'll have 8 stitches when you're done. First chain, 2 bands, 1 at a time. Back in. The next chain with 2, all the way until you get to the stitch marker. And the last chain. So you should have 8 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, you're going to do 8 single crochets. 1 band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Each pile I have 8 bands, so at the end of each round you should have 8 stitches. I'm going to do round 3 with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. So going in your first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and just add 1 band. The next. Go all the way around. should have 8 stitches. Remove your stitch marker or add another stitch marker, whatever you prefer. You just want to go around 5 more times. So pause the video and come back to me when you're done. Now this is what you should have so far for the trunk. And I have rounds 9, 10, 11, and 12 here. For rounds 9, we're going to do 7 single crochets followed by an increase. So you'll have 9 stitches when you're done. Round 10, I have 8 single crochets followed by an increase. So you'll have 10 stitches when you're done. Round 11, you're going to do 9 single crochets followed by an increase, and you'll have 11 stitches when you're done. Round 12, I'm going to do 10 single crochets followed by an increase, and you're going to have 12 stitches when you're done. So I'm going to do rounds 9, 7 single crochets followed by an increase. Don't go where it's getting pulled. If you want, you could pause the video and just set up your bands the same way as I did. I'm at the last chain where the stitch marker is, it's the increase. So each round where you're doing the increase is where your stitch marker is. So again, you should have 9 stitches now. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. I just realized something. Round 10, you'll have 10 stitches. Round 11, you'll have 11 stitches. And round 12, you're going to have 12 stitches. So I'm going to go with round 10, 8 single crochets followed by an increase. Again, stitch marker, increase. You should have 10 stitches. Remove your stitch marker, add it to the band that's around your hook, and you can start with round 11. Round 11 is 9 single crochets followed by an increase. At any point in time, you can pause the video. Don't try to keep up with me. Go at your own pace and don't get discouraged by that. Last chain, increase. Remove the stitch marker. You should have 11 stitches. And now round 12. We're going to do 10 single crochets followed by an increase. increase. Back in. Now you should have 12 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For rounds 13 and 14, our last 2 rounds for the trunk, you're going to do 12 single crochets, 1 band in each chain. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Each pile I have 12 stitches, so at the end of each round you're going to have 12. I have 12 bands. At the end of each round you're going to have 12 stitches. Your last band, you want to do a slip knot to tie it closed. So just bring the last band through all the stitches or all the loops that are on your hook and then tie it off. So I'm going to start you off with round 3, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. We're going to add some stuffing and a bit of wire to the trunk. So let's go with round 3. Don't go where it's getting pulled. 12 single crochets. So just continue with round 3 all the way to the stitch marker. Repeat for round 14, last band, slip knot, and come back to me when you're done. Now your trunk should be done with a slip knot. We're going to cut some wire and then add a little bit of stuffing using a pencil. If you don't have the wire, I am using an 18 gauge. If you don't have the wire, you could use a pipe cleaner, maybe 2 of them kind of like twisted together, and it'll kind of give the same effect. It just helps to bend the nose. Now if you have neither of those, it'll just kind of like stand out straight, which is okay too. Now you're going to cut the wire. Please ask an adult for help. I'm going to cut the wire to 18 inches. Now I do have a already cut piece in front of me. I do need it a little bit smaller. You can't really see my ruler, the length of it, but I'm just going to do 18 inches all the way to the end. So I'm just going to cut off. Please again, ask an adult for help. And then I'm going to fold this in half. Now the 2 ends, what I'm going to do is just kind of bend them down to twist them. Please be careful. And just like that. Now what I'm going to do is take a little bit of stuffing and I'm going to push this to the end of the trunk using the pencil. So I just kind of want to fill just a little bit of the end. This might be a little bit too much. Just so the wire doesn't come through. And bring that right to the end. Now we need to fill the rest, and what I'm going to do is take some of the stuffing, kind of give it a twist. I'm going to put some through this loop here at the end. And I'm just going to try my best to kind of twist this around. And I'm going to put this inside. Now some of my stuffing didn't go through, so what I'm going to do is either with your pencil, I'm probably going to grab my hook to grab some of that stuffing and just bring it down. Trying to bring it around evenly on either side, so this is in the center, the wire. So now you want to just safely put this to the side until we're ready to attach this to the actual head. I might have to take a little bit out. It seems like it's a little bit too full. Now I think this is just going to be a little bit easier. I'd like that you'd make two pieces exactly like this. They're the exact same pieces, and what they are is the start of the top of the head and the start for the bottom of the body. So they're the exact same thing for 5 rounds. So I'm going to show you how to do one, and then you're going to pause the video to make yourself another. So you'll need 2 in total. What we're going to do is a magic ring of 6. So you're going to take your first band. I'm going to use the bottom part of my loom and wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now with your hook, just pull 6 bands through, 1 at a time. First band, end on your hook, top loop over. Bring it to the side, back in for the second, bring it through, end on your hook, and bring the top 2 loops over. Bring it to the side. Go back in, sorry, coffee's done. Third band, end on your hook, top 2 loops over. And continue. Remove from the loom. If you are using the loom, move your bands around so that they're nice and even, and attach your stitch marker to the band that's around your hook. And you should have 6 stitches. For round 2, what we're going to do is increase on each chain around. So adding 2 bands, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. At the end of round 2, you're going to have 12 stitches. So you're doing 2 single crochets in each chain, 1 band at a time. Back in, that same chain for your second band. The next chain, 2 bands, 1 at a time. And then continue until you get to the stitch marker. You should have 12 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, we're going to do a single crochet followed by an increase. Single crochet followed by an increase. So 1, 2, 1, 2. You're going to repeat this pattern 6 times. So at the end of round 3, you're going to have 18 stitches. So I'm going to go in my first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and add 1 band. 1 single crochet. Chain 2 is the increase, so adding 2 bands 1 at a time. Back in. And repeat 1, 2. And again, repeat 1, 2, follow the layout and continue until you get to your stitch marker. So right now you should have 24 stitches. Remove your stitch marker. Oh, sorry, you should have 18 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 4, we're going to increase to 24 stitches. So the pattern is now 2 single crochets followed by an increase, 2 single crochets followed by an increase, and you're going to repeat this pattern 6 times. So you'll have 24 stitches when you're done. So I'm going to go in the first 2 chains with 1 band in each, followed by an increase in the 3rd stitch. So 1, 1, 2. Again, 1, 1, 2. You just want to repeat 4 more times until you get to the stitch marker. I have 3 chains left, 1, 2, and 3 sections left. Continue. So you should have 24 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 5, we're going to increase to 30 stitches. And the pattern is 3 single crochets followed by an increase, 3 single crochets followed by an increase, and you're going to repeat that pattern 6 times. So you'll have 30 stitches when we're done. So I'm going to go in the first 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3, with 1 band in each. So basically every 4th chain, just add 2 bands. Increase, back in, and repeat 1, 1, 1, 2. Follow the layout and continue until you get to the stitch marker. You should have 30 stitches. Remove your stitch marker. So now after 30 stitches, what you want to do is make sure that you have 2. So you're going to have to repeat the last 5 rounds to make yourself another.